All right, we are back tonight with another 2021 MLB Draft show. Tonight, we are joined by a right-hander, Mason Black out of Lehigh. Mason, welcome to the show.
Yeah, Joe, thank you guys for having me. Same to you, Ian. I'm excited to be here, ready to get it going.
For sure.
Awesome, man. Glad to have you. Glad to talk some baseball. So just talking a little about your summer. I know you're planning on being in the Cape Cod League. Like I said that to everybody in the last couple of interviews, but you ended up heading down to the South Florida Collegiate League. Talk to me a little bit how that went for you.
Yeah, that was actually a bit of a curveball. Originally, I was planning on playing in a league back here or back home in Scranton, Pennsylvania. My former travel organization was putting one on with just the local talent that we have. But last minute on a whim, I texted one of my teammates from Lehigh, and within a matter of, I think it was like 3 hours, I ended up on a team down in Florida, and I was honestly so pumped. Like, obviously didn't have the best showing in the spring. Really wanted to get some good game innings in with some different players, and that was just such an unbelievable summer, being able to play in the middle of a pandemic.
I mean, even though the numbers aren't eye-popping by any means, I think the arsenal that you bring to the mound is something that a lot of people can get behind. For those that aren't familiar with kind of your stuff or who you are as a pitcher, can you kind of describe what you bring to the mound and how you like to go about hitters?
Yeah, definitely. I bring fastball, like pretty standard 14 two-seam guy. Go with the two-seam on the inside part of the plate, get a little bit of sync with that, and then mix in a changeup, slider, and we've been working a little bit with the curveball recently. Slider was more of a development through the summer that we finally hammered down, which we were thankful for. But yeah, just pound the zone with strikes, try to get a lot of ground ball outs, get some strikeouts, and that's something that we've really been working on going forward.
How do you think your knowledge of that as a summer has helped your development of said slider and such, and your curveball as well?
Yeah, well, I'm actually a bit of a nerd myself, so I love jumping into the numbers, dealing with all that stuff. But I've been lucky to have some great instructors help me out with some data application, and one of them is Johnny Kranick back home. His brother actually plays in the Pirates organization, so he's been a big help, as well as our new pitching coach here at Lehigh. He's also a big nerd like me, and we love getting after the Rapsodo data. So just diving into that, just figuring out, like, obviously one of the biggest goals was to shorten up the arm path and see what that does to help out like the off-speed pitches. And one thing it did help was the spin direction of the slider. It helped get on side of it a little bit more. Been flipping some curveballs, spinning those a little bit higher. So it's just a matter of it's always a work in progress, but at the same time, like, the data helps so much actually see what like is making the ball move rather than just saying, hey, that one was a good one. Like, what did it do?
Yeah, I mean, it helps with making a repeatable process, right?
Exactly.
So, you and I had talked, and you kind of undersold yourself a little bit with, a fastball, slider, changeup, curveball. I mean, you got a pretty big fastball. 94, 96. You've touched 98. We've talked a little bit about how you like to shape that pitch, and one of your biggest self-induced, if you will, issues last year was you were in that 130 slot. Talk to us about how you've kind of tried to craft that fastball going into 2021 as it pertains to the spin orientation and what you want to do with the ball.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the biggest things that we've been working on this fall prior to our athletic shutdown here at Lehigh. But we really want to work that fastball. As you mentioned, it was in that 130 slot. Gets a lot of ride, gets a decent amount of run as well. But at the same time, we want to almost develop that into two separate pitches where I still have that two-seamer sinker baller that I've kind of become known for, I guess is the way to put it, and have that spinning at right around the 2 o'clock, 2:15 position, and then just orient the wrist a little bit different so we can get a little bit more ride up in the zone on a four-seam. And honestly, I think that that's probably going to be the biggest thing. We want to get the spin direction on that right around the 45 to 1 o'clock time slot. And honestly, we've been seeing some success, not as consistent as we'd like it, but it's definitely a goal going forward this offseason.
Do you have any data marks from that four seam that you continue to try to ride? Anything induced vertical break or anything you'd like to share?
No, it's just, well, I mean, yeah, obviously I'd share it, but we just basically have hammered down like the spin direction is the first thing that we wanted to get. So obviously that was moving more towards that 115 slot. It's not where we want it to be, but that's all. Like, I only threw one bullpen, and we just decided it was time to shut it down because the pause didn't look like it was getting lifted anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
So right now it's just getting in the weight room and seeing what that looks like when we come back out.
Well, like you were saying about the athletic shutdown, I know you've dealt with, I think, 2 or 3 different shutdowns in the last few months. How do you feel like you've helped recovery through that process, and how have you kept your arm fresh with all the shutdowns?
Yeah, it's honestly been just a wave of emotions there. This last one was probably the most just biggest stab in the heart, just because we were rolling into the fall. We were finally able to have full team practices. And then within, I think it was 2 or 3 team practices, everything got shut down. But in prior shutdowns, I was able to take that time to go home and work on some pitching things, shorten up the delivery, shorten up the arm action, make things a lot more efficient. And honestly, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise at points. And honestly, that's how we've been trying to look at things throughout this whole process, is we just take every chance we can get to try to get better. And one of the things that's helped so much is I have a younger brother who plays baseball as well. He's a college baseball guy, and he's been my throwing partner throughout all this. So
perfect.
Never a pain to have the family around, right?
Exactly.
Hey, I know that you said that you've been working on a slider and you've been working on a curveball more specifically. If you have a baseball on you or in your room, can you kind of show us how you rip a slider and how you rip a curveball?
I don't know how I live in a baseball house with no baseballs, but our roommate's actually running right next door to grab one.
Oh my God.
So we'll figure this out eventually. Yeah, one of the things that we've been working on with the curveball recently is shifting. I spike it. So there's the grip, but we've been shifting the ball almost more towards this rotational place so that I get more feel off of the middle finger and I'm able to get more 12-6 action, because it does tend to get into a slurvy part, and that's where it just stinks because it doesn't differentiate enough from the slider. And with regards to the slider, a grip that I was having a lot of success with towards the later ends of the summer was I was actually choking it as hard as I could, and just a real soft spike off the inside there. And I was just trying to throw it almost as a fastball and just try to throw it as hard as I could, honestly. And we were getting a lot of bite with that. I think it was right around the 86, 87 mile an hour range. Honestly, we would like that to get up to hopefully 87 to 89, but we'll just see what happens.
So you have faced off against quite a few talented hitters over the last couple of years. I know that I think you got a cup of tea in the Cape Cod League. Is there a hitter that really stands out over your last 2 years that has really just proven to be a really tough at bat, or someone that's just cut from a different cloth?
Yeah, there's a couple names that come to mind. Obviously, just in the Cape in general, I was able to play with his name's Dom Toso from Richmond, and we actually faced off against him again. He hasn't been a real big name, I guess, thrown around with regards to the draft. Obviously, he's a year older, but at the same time, he was someone who, in facing him every single time, I just struggled, and not from the point where it was he just was able to find a ball to hit and put in play, if that makes sense.
Talk to me a little bit about the fastball velo. Have we touched 100 this summer yet, or this fall?
No, well, the reports of 100 are not confirmed, I gotta say. If I can go out and throw 100 today, I would 100% say that, but I don't know if I could back that one up yet. The highest I think I've been up to, at least that's documented, is right around 98. But honestly, I would take 100 if that's in the future. But we'll see. It's going to be what we're working towards. But with regards to development of the fastball, one of the things that we really tried to hammer on, and this is something that came up before, was just shortening up the arm action. And that allowed us to just stay more efficient with things. And going forward, I was able to throw harder, longer in games. And it honestly solved the velo issue as well. It just kind of, over the summer, I was able to make that jump, and I was lucky to have that.
Mason, you're a guy with a ton of extension and a really low release point. Is that something that you're cognizant of? And with those attributes, how do those change the way that you approach the way you pitch?
Yeah, and that's something that honestly hasn't really been brought to my attention for the most part until this past summer. And one thing that it did allow us and open up was the possibility of having a four seam that really rides up in the zone. And that's something that we obviously are trying to develop right now. I get a lot more, I guess, standard two seam action on the four seam right now. So one of the things we do want to do is have that fastball that we can elevate up in the zone and really just shock hitters with. And just with extension, obviously I'm going to be a fastball pitcher throwing, upper 90s. So it's something that just when the ball gets on you, it gets on you. That's what we like to do.
Are you aware of where your efficiency's at on that fastball up in the zone right now?
Up in the zone, I think fastball efficiency is always up in like the 98 to 100 range. So it's right now.
That's what you're looking. I mean, that's what we're looking for always. We were just talking about that earlier this evening, but I digress.
The only other question that I have for you in terms of the baseball side, and this more pertains to seeing guys like Shane Bieber and Corey Kluber and Jacob DeGrom, these pitchers that are built kind of similar to you, coming from small schools and just having, massive amounts of success at the big league level. Is that anything that you kind of take into account or that you keep in the back of your mind when training or eyes on the prize type of thing?
Yeah, and that's something that's been really cool, just knowing that, like, when I go out, and I went up to the Cape Cod League, like, just a small school guy, but it is cool just knowing that, like, I represent Lehigh baseball pretty much every time I step out on the field. And that's been awesome. It's been exciting I know our coaches said from a recruiting standpoint, they've loved that. As well as, like, we've had some other Lehigh baseball pitchers that have been making some splashes as well. So it's just really good for the program, like, really exciting. And it's something that I like to keep in the back of my mind, like, been this for way more than just myself.
Well, I got one last question for you, and we're eventually going to be out of this athletic shutdown, and we've got about 8 or 9 months to the 21 draft. What are some of the main focuses for you going into these next 9 months to work on and to get better at?
Yeah, that's the big question I've been getting a lot. And obviously, like, want to shorten things up. We're nowhere near where we want to be with just arm position. We want to be a lot more efficient there. And obviously want to keep developing the fastballs, as we had mentioned. And then just really see what the direction goes with the slider and the curveball. Like, would we end up dropping one? Who knows? And it's really exciting just from that standpoint. Like, you don't know what the future holds, and I'm personally super excited to go ahead and do that. And then just from a physical standpoint, like, definitely just want to get in the weight room and just come out a beast, hopefully.
I love it, man. Well, hey, Mason, it's been a pleasure chatting with you tonight. You're obviously a wealth of knowledge as it pertains to the art of pitching and data in general. Ian and I are both big fans. We're looking forward to seeing how you continue to develop and progress over the next 9 months. And we'll be rooting for you. We'll be rooting for Lehigh. And we hope to hear your name called early next July.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much again for having me. This has been a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
All right, man.
Appreciate it,
Take it easy.
Thanks a lot, brother.
It was a pleasure.